It was meant to kill me, sent to destroy me, and I thought that it would, and I thought that it should, 'cause I messed up so many times. I went left when you said right. I'll understand if you wanna let me go, let me go, let me go. But you held on to me, and you wouldn't let me go, and you wouldn't let me go. But you held on to me, and you wouldn't let me go, and you wouldn't let me go. And what the enemy meant for evil, God has worked it out for my good. What the enemy meant for evil, God has worked it out for my good. What the enemy meant for evil, God has worked it out for my good. Yeah, it was meant to kill me, sent to destroy me. Yeah, and I thought that it was. Yeah, and I thought that it should. 'Cause I messed up so many times. I went left when you said right. I'll understand if you wanna let me go, 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 go. But you held on, you wouldn't let me go, you wouldn't let me go. you have always yes, sir. Now raise your voice and say, what the enemy meant for evil, God has worked it out for my good. Yes, sir. Come on, I need you to sing it as loud as you can. Say, what the enemy meant for evil, God has worked it out for my good. If you believe it, come on, say it loud. What the enemy meant for evil, God has worked it out. I know you thought it was going to kill you, but I promise you he's going to use it for his glory. Everybody clap your hands, let's go. Yes, sir. Everybody clap like this, y'all, like this, y'all. Listen, I need you to know that whatever you're going through, God has the ability to use it for his glory. He doesn't waste anything. If you went through it, he can use it. Let's go. Say, it's working. It's working. It's working. It's working. I need you to know that it's working. Hey, it was meant to kill me, but it's working for me. It's working. It's working. Tell somebody it's working. It's working. Encourage somebody. It's working. I know it seems hard, but just hang in there. I promise you, it's working. It's working. Everything that you face, every heartbreaking trial. Hey, it was meant to kill me, but it's working for me. It's working. I know it don't feel like it. I know it don't look like it, but he's able to do it. Hey, it's working. It's working. It's working. Do you believe it? I said that it's working. It's working. I need you to believe it and receive it, that he's making all things work together. It's working. For the promises of God are yes and amen. If he did it before, he can do it again. Say, it's working. Your new season is here. And what the enemy meant for evil, God has turned it around for my good. Oh, what was meant to kill me, it only made me better.
Trailer on 285, I immediately called 1-800-INJURED, the Bethune Law Firm. And attorney Terrence Bethune said, don't worry, Dottie, I got this. If you're ever in a car accident, call 1-800-INJURED, Bethune Law Firm, and they'll tell you too. Oh!
This is Attorney Bethune of Bethune Law Firm. For over 25 years, my law firm has been helping injured victims in matters of wrongful death, tractor-trailer accidents, and car accidents. We're conveniently located at 2357 Pine Ono Avenue. Remember, after a car wreck, call 1-800-INJURED, the Bethune Law Firm, to get you a big check.
Oh!
Middle Georgia. Welcome to our Saturday morning power, praise, and prayer lineup. The Greater Elizabethboro Missionary Baptist Church of Macon, where Reverend Derek Dumas is the lead servant, every Saturday at 11 a.m. on 980 a.m. WDDO. The Glory. Connecting the community through gospel. The new 107.9 FM, W300EB, Macon, and WDDO 980 AM, Perry, Macon.
The views expressed on this program are not necessarily the views of the Glory 980 AM, the Glory Media Group, LLC, WDDO AM, its staff, management, or advertisers, but are the views and opinions of the participants of the broadcast.
It is now time for the live broadcast of the NAACP with Gwenette Westbrooks and Mr. Dumas.
Good evening and welcome once again to the NAACP Truth Show. I'm Willie Dumas, your host. Joining me today is Maria Bryant. Happy to have you with us, Maria. President Westbrooks may be joining us by phone later today. I hope you're having a great day today. We certainly are. And we look forward to a great show today. A lot going on in the community. This past weekend, the NAACP on last Friday, we held a press conference in Jones County, and many of you probably saw that airing. And we were there representing a family there whose son had been accused of certain things that we felt were kind of unjust in how they handled it. And so we gave our take on that and wanted to draw attention to that situation. And if you get an opportunity, you can visit President Westbrooks' page, her Facebook page, and she has written a response as it relates to how the media kind of handled our press conference. I hope you do know that all through trying to get justice for individuals, everyone has their opinion on how that should go. And the NAACP, we try to be unbiased in that regard, and we want to make sure that we represent people in the right way as it relates to their case. And so there's going to be some forthcoming press conferences by our organization until we can get some type of resolve towards this situation here in Jones County. And we would like to have your input. You can call us here at the show. And that number is 478-250-1444. Once again, that number is 478-250-1444. And the reason Ms. Bryant is joining us today, she's had the opportunity for our organization to attend the redistricting meetings that have been held at Mercer University. And she's here to give us some updates. Most of you back in April of 2020, had the opportunity to fill out your census form and to indicate the various questions that were asked to the best of your ability. And she's going to show you how those answers that you were given will actually affect the remapping and the redistricting here in Middle Georgia. So Maria, give us a little rundown, if you would, on the meeting you attended and some of the highlighted issues that we should be concerned about.
Good afternoon. The meeting I attended was at Macon State, held by the Black elected officials here in Georgia. And what they were talking about is redistricting. And I need to let everybody know that redistricting is the process of drawing boundaries for the electoral and political districts in the U.S. and is usually done every 10 years after the census. So each has the same number of residents. Redistricting directly affects if your community will receive the resources and representation you deserve. And that's why it was so important for everybody to participate in the 2020 census. And that's what determines how and what happens in your different districts. Now, this affects your congressional, which is your federal districts. This also affects your legislature, which is the state house and the Senate, your voting precincts for your election, your county commissioner districts, the school board districts, and judicial district for the courts. So that lets you know why right now we're in the process of getting ready to do the redistricting and reapportionments. Now, some states did lose some representatives and some state gained. Georgia remained the same. We have 14 and we still have 14. Florida gained a seat. And New York lost a seat. And so it varies from state to state. That's why it was so important that we was emphasizing, please go out and do the census. And that's why it's important. So even when you do the elections, we like for people, if you're not in your district, you need to register, because what happens in your district, that's what you need, because a lot of people don't realize if they move, well, if you're outside of your district and you vote outside of your local district, because you can only vote here in Macon-Bibb. Well, if you vote outside of your local district and say you're in District 1 and you move to District 9 and you don't change your voter registration, then then District 9 is not helped. Right. Because of the fact that you are voting outside of your district. So it's really important that if people move, that you go ahead and make sure you register in the district, because your district need all of the help that it can get. Also, Maria, you mentioned the fact that people were the public was able to attend this meeting, correct? Right, it was a public meeting. And so what are they looking for? They're looking for some input from the community. They're looking for input from the community. You know, if your organization, if your group together, what they want you to do is come out and say why your district needs to stay like it is, or you may be in a district that's way out of whack, and you want to emphasize, because the more help you have in your district, the better off you are. Absolutely. And that's why we were saying, that's why we wanted people to do that, and see that affects your voting and everything. Also, when the rubber meets the road, a lot of this has to do with how much money comes to a particular area as well, right? And that money is determined by the district, determined by when you do your census. That's what determines how much money you get in your particular area. So if you sit at home and you don't participate, wow, and you wonder why your district doesn't have this or why your district doesn't have that, because you don't have the numbers, and everything is based on numbers. Absolutely. And one of the things too that you and I were discussing earlier is, once they develop these districts and they set these maps into stone, they can't be changed until 10 years? 10 years when you do the next census. Even if there's an undercount, that undercount there's nothing that can be done about it until the next census. And census is done every 10 years. So if you missed out on 2020, wow, when we have the next census. So, but that's why we were, that's why I've been attending the meetings, and, the community has input. You need to call your representatives on, we have Senator Lucas, and we have, Miriam Paris, and I'm forgetting him. He was at the meeting. But anyway, you need to call your representatives. In your community, you need to call your representatives, let them know how you feel. You can go and have your input. Don't sit at home. If there's something you want to do, there's something about your district, you don't like the way your district is, you need to talk to your representatives. Absolutely. And they were practicing social distancing and those kinds of things. So people can feel a little safer about attendance. When I arrived, the first thing they said is, we need to take your temperature and you need to wear your mask. Of course, I had my mask on, and then I did my temperature check. And once they did that, then they let you in, and everybody was socially distanced, because we did it at Mercer, not at Mercer, but at Macon State. So when you was in the auditorium, people was, they was asking people to distance themselves, and that's what we were doing in there. Wonderful. Yeah. Now, one of the things we have to always be careful about in our community, as well as other communities, is a term called gerrymandering. Correct. You want to touch on that a little bit for our audience? Gerrymandering, let's see. Okay, I have that here. I'll give you my sheet on gerrymandering. Okay. Gerrymandering is by creating boundaries that either pack the opposing parties' voters into a handful of districts or dispersing them across many districts. The party that controls the process can help ensure safer seats for its candidates and maintain overall control of the state government, even with fewer total voters. So in other words, that's what gerrymandering is. It's cheating, isn't it? It's cheating. Yeah, it's packing the people that. Well, actually, what it's doing is putting people in the district, and so it may be just a small number. Just a smaller number, and then they decide how they want to do it, and that's where they put the people in the districts, which and it's a way of cheating.
Right. And
you pack all of the people in one district that those people are voting, so we'll put them all in one area, so that candidate is assured that he would get that seat.
And one way they can that voters can assure that doesn't take place is by being in attendance, looking at the data that's been created, and then they'll know if there's some hanky panky that's taking place.
And all of this is open to the public. You just need to look out. There's they usually will put it out online, and just go out and look at redistricting, and we'll tell you the counties, and it will tell you the locations that they're having the meetings, and those meetings are open to the public, and you can attend any of those meetings and give them your opinion on what's going on.
Were they just Bibb County residents that were attending?
No, there were some people there from Twiggs County. There was people there from Sparta. There were some people there from Jeffersonville, and there was another county. But anyway, they came in because Senator Lucas was there, and they came in, and also Representative Beverly.
That's right.
Representative Beverly was there also. But they came in, and I can't remember her name, but she was from Atlanta, and she came down. But there were people there from all over, and they were asking people from the district coming in different district. Representative Patty Bentley was there from Fort Valley, so she was there also. Wow. So they were coming in, and you need to tell your representative, voice your opinion on what goes on, because you may wind up being shifted in another district. So all of these people were there because they were concerned about staying in the district that they're already
in. And also, people don't need to be complaining about how this process pans out if they haven't, given their input.
Participated in the census.
Right.
Really don't have anything to say.
Absolutely.
So that's why it's very important. That's why the census was so important, because that determines the money that's coming in also to the state and to your region. So if your population is undercounted, that means you're getting less funds.
Right. And I did see a report, particularly as it related to Houston County. I think Houston County has grown quite a bit.
Right.
And Bibb County has grown somewhat too.
Somewhat.
And so all of this data makes a difference when it comes to what districts we will have, how many representatives, and those kind of things.
Right.
I know you mentioned earlier that Georgia, kind of stayed the same.
Georgia stayed the same, but there were some states. New York lost a representative. Florida gained one. Different ones. California lost one. Illinois lost one. So did Michigan. So did Ohio. So did Pennsylvania and West Virginia. Texas gained 2 representatives. Colorado gained 1. Oregon gained 1. Montana gained 2, and North Carolina. So these were the people that, and then the other states, there was no change.
Wow. And so this was a pretty informative type meeting.
It was.
As far as time, about how long did that?
About an hour and a half.
Okay.
We weren't there very long. They allow you to ask questions. You can give your testimony there, whatever. And it's really not long. It's very, very structured. You come in, they get everybody, they ask questions, question and answer session, and then you're allowed to get up and speak.
Absolutely. Now, I do know that we have an election coming up.
Right.
In 2022. And so as far as
so all this reapportionment and redistricting has to be completed, because we have an election coming in 2022, which is the governors.
Absolutely.
And representatives. So we have that election. So all of this has to be completed in later, according to what I was told, it should be finished by the late fall and winter of 2021.
Because they would definitely have to be finished before qualifying.
Right.
Before the qualifying date.
Right.
And there's a lot of things that you mentioned earlier that are affected by the census.
Right.
A lot of the monies that we've seen come into the county had to do with how those numbers have panned out.
Right. And you just remember, all of these districts have to be changed. The school board, commissioners. So therefore, people will be moving around. Some people will move from one district to the other, but it's based on, like I said, it's based on the census, and it's based on people getting in for the. It's really based on the census. So, once we find out later on, they'll let us know. We don't have to actually have the numbers. We have the raw data, but we will be getting all of the data for the census. So we'll know exactly where Bibb County, like you said, we know we gained some.
Right.
But it depends upon what area of town.
Exactly.
So that'll determine what your representation is.
And some of the areas, I'm sure, probably lost some population and that kind of thing, which were, affected in a way that people probably won't realize until next year.
Then all of a sudden it's what happened.
Right. And of course, the changing faces as the political year kind of gets started. Right. Some of the folks that used to campaign in particular areas probably will not be the same individuals. And
True. So it's going to be interesting. 2022 election should be very, very interesting. And, with all of the political changes and with the changes in the voting laws, with these new laws that they've come up with on how people can participate in the elections, there's just a lot of things. And we need to make sure that everybody needs to make sure that you check your voting status. It's very, very important to check your voting status. Go online and make sure you're still registered to vote, and make sure you're registered to vote in the district that you live in. And it's really important that people get their address changed so your district will be well represented. Because if you don't, then your vote doesn't count. Your vote counts, but the problem is we want every district to be represented fairly. So if you live in that district, please make sure you change your address. And we really want everybody to make sure they go online and check your status, check your voting status to make sure you're still registered out there in the community. So
they shouldn't just take for granted that, the fact they voted last year and, they voted in the
everybody go online and check
precinct.
Go online and check it. And then also we do have the new absentee ballots out. There's a whole new application form, and the absentee ballots out. Now you have to have your driver's license on there, and but it's a totally different form. I saw the form the other day, and it's a totally different form than the ones we used to. So those of you who have to do absentee ballots, make sure we have your ID and everything on there.
And also the NAACP, we've invested in the machines that can actually make IDs for individuals.
Well, we make copies of your ID, not your ID now. We make copies.
Absolutely.
We don't make IDs, but we'll make a copy of your ID that you can attach to your absentee form. We don't make.
We're not in the ID.
We're not ID making. Okay, let's be real clear on that.
Absolutely.
But what we can do is make a copy of your ID, and you can attach it to the form.
Wonderful.
And like I said, it's a totally new form that they have. But if you use that, but if you have to do your absentee, do your absentee. Make sure you just vote. Vote absentee, vote early, but just make sure you vote.
And with the with all the new rules and the new changes, individuals need to feel a little bit more confident about the process, so they need to also check some of the changes that have taken place.
Everything, but just make sure that you go out and vote. It's your right to vote. Go out and vote. Make sure once in 2022, because those are important elections. And so we need to make sure everybody's out. And like I said, just make sure you check your status. You can go online. It doesn't take but a minute. Go online to the Secretary of State site and pull it up and check your status. And it will let you know what they have for you in the system. So, and if you go in there and the page is blank and they can't find anything, that means you aren't registered.
Absolutely.
So, and if that's the case, go to the Board of Election, or you can register online. If you go online, you can register online also. Only thing we need to do is make sure people are registered and people get out and vote.
And they also need to kind of keep an eye open for some other redistricting meetings, because they will continue to go across the state, correct?
They will be going across the state. And like the one that was in Macon the other day. They had that one's at Macon State. They had one at Mercer. But also, if you go online, they are online also on Zoom. If you go online, if you can't attend that meeting, they are putting them out there on Zoom, so that way you'll know what's going on.
Right. So even if they're not, there physically, they can still get the information.
Mm-hmm.
Is it any way? Do they kind of get to interact from Zoom? Question sessions and that kind of thing. I think on Zoom, what they are asking you to do is submit your questions about 15 minutes before it starts. Then that way, your questions can be answered during the meeting. Absolutely.
That way,
So they can still have interaction.
They can still have interaction. And then, like I said, if there's something you want to have, contact your local representative.
Wow.
That's what they're there for. They're there to help you out. Let them know how you feel, because it affects them also. So you need to let them know, I need, give them your ideas, give them your input. That's the main thing I'm trying to do, is get people's input and ideas about this redistricting, because they will be drawing the new maps. And once the new maps are drawn, And
I was just looking over this impact in the state house, some of the things that have impacted the redistricting. The latter part here, it says the district has seen an explosion in the Asian American population growth over the past decade. It says the census estimate shows that the district added more than 5,000 Asian Americans in that time. It's the third largest increase of Asian Americans of any district in the state, and I think that's Johns Creek, up in the Atlanta area. So there are a lot of factors that are taking place with populations. I'm sure there's an increase, even in other areas as well. The same type of influxes that they see can also be seen, across the district in various areas.
Right. So we just need to be mindful. And like I said, if you have something about the maps, the way they're mapping the area, just talk to your state representative. Or, if you're a part of an organization get together and put your ideas or whatever and send it to your representative in that area. That way you can impact more people and you'll have more people involved.
Now, did they give out a website or anything that people can kind of follow the progress of the redistricting, or is it pretty much? If you go on the Georgia Secretary of State site and click in redistricting, it will tell you the locations. Oh, wonderful!
Just go in there; it will tell you the location and. The General Assembly, if you go in there, it will give you, because that's where I found it, at the different dates for everything that's going on. So if you look in there, it will give you actually the locations. And if it's not, and it will also tell you whether this is a Zoom one where you can zoom in on it or not. So if you look in there, there's a little site you can click on.
Now, during the discussion when you were there, did anything come about as it relates to COVID and how COVID may have affected the census this year? Was there any talk about that? Any discussion?
No, I mean, except for people could not get out and like they normally do when they're doing the census. And, they depended on a lot of people being online, but there were people going out to different places. But because of COVID, people couldn't really get out in the community like they normally do. And that was an issue, but
people make they made a way.
They made a way for the ones to get in. They did make a way for those, and in some cases, because it was very, very simple to do online, and if you couldn't do it, get someone to do it for you. But that's why we was pushing. So let's get our census done. Let's do the census. So apparently, what will come up will be the results of what happened in Georgia. And
absolutely. And so everybody's pretty much on an even keel or even playing field as it relates, I guess, to COVID, because the impact was about the same across the board. So and speaking of COVID, here in Macon, of course, we still have this variant influx. Understand that the hospitals are yet very crowded and overflowing with patients,
right,
and younger patients,
right,
which was something we didn't see with COVID-19, but we're seeing a large number with this Delta variant. And so we want to continue to put the caution out there to, take those precautions we need to take to keep ourselves safe. I know there's a lot of controversy, out
especially
here.
about wearing your mask.
Oh, yeah.
But, wear your mask.
Absolutely. And, a person has to do what they know to do to keep, to keep themselves safe.
Right.
Because you'll hear all these different theories and, things that people should or should not do.
Whatever makes you safe, safety first, look at it, the children. So you just have to be careful and wear your mask, wash your hands.
Absolutely. The things we've been doing.
Make sure you wash your hands, wear your mask, and we're out, and just be careful when you're out in the community, and be careful about what you do. But I look at it like this way, safety,
Safety
look at being
comes first.
safe. Yeah, look at being safe. And if you care about your neighbor, wear your mask, wash your hands, and you're looking after your people, and try to encourage your family members. We encouraged all our family to get the COVID shots.
Absolutely.
And all of us, we didn't do anything. So everybody's gotten their shot.
Right. And those who haven't, they've got incentives now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I guess that's a driving force.
Yeah.
Well, certainly we're happy to have you with us, Maria, and giving us that update on redistricting. And we do hope that people will adhere to the fact that we have these meetings going on,
right,
and that they would attend and give their input, because it's going to be a permanent stamp for 10 years. And so,
and if that was an undercount doesn't get repaired until the next
was 2030. Hope we'll be around.
Yeah. So I mean, there's no way to fix it because the census is done every 10 years.
Wow.
So that's what we were told. Someone asked the question, what happens? And they said, there's nothing we can do about the undercount.
Wow.
So those people won't be picked up. So if you're in a community where you're undercounted will stay there for the next 10 years.
Wow. Well, we're out of time, and we thank you for being with us. Thank you guys for joining us. And once again, we'll see you next week at the NAACP Truth. I'm Willie Dumas, your host. Until next time, have a great evening.
Have a great evening.
The Bible declares that he has raised us up together and has made us sit in heavenly places in Christ Jesus. Say, See, we're the head and not the tail. Say, oh, yeah. The song says that I'm living on the top. See, I'm living the best life, and I'm living a blessed life. I am blessed. And not only that, y'all, but I'm telling you that I'm walking in the realm of faith. And I'm a living miracle. And I'm receiving the abundance. I'm getting everything, y'all. Come on, one more time. Say, I'm living on the top of Jesus. And I am blessed in the heavenlies, and I'm walking in the realm of faith and miracles, and I am it says, whatsoever you find on earth, it will be. Whatsoever you lose on earth, it will be. Yeah.